All right, so let's take a look at reflexive verbs when we've got a two-verb situation, right? That's a lot. There are a lot of elements, kind of, number one, it's grammar, number two, it's Spanish, and number three, there are different layers of grammar rules going on, so this kind of gets complex quickly. But let's see if we can break it down and take it piece by piece. So first, let's take the verb bañar. Bañar means to bathe. As we learned in the other video lecture, that we can do that thing to or for someone else. And we can do that by expressing yo baño el perro. So I bathe the dog. Okay, that follows the normal verb conjugations that we've learned. And with what we just saw in the other video, yo me baño, using that reflexive pronoun me, now signifies that I'm doing that action to or for myself. So yo me baño means I take a bath or a shower. And I say bath or shower because the dictionary definition recognizes bañarse as to take a bath, but some places, such as Mexico, recognize that as both bath or shower. So anyway, that's not what we're here for. We're talking about two verb situations. So two verb situations are I need to do something. I want to do something. So we have kind of these auxiliary verbs that are commonly used in conjunction with other verbs, right? So need and want are two of those that are commonly used with others. So let's take a look at needing to do something, right? So I need to take a bath. So yo necesito, I need. And if we break this down, bañar by itself means to bathe, right? So I need to bathe. But when we make it reflexive by putting that pronoun, the reflexive pronoun at the end, now it's I need to take a bath or a shower. So yo necesito bañarme is how we do that. So notice how the first verb is conjugated or changed at the end. And the second verb, we didn't put an O or an A or an amos or an an. We left it alone, right? So two verb situations. First one gets that change at the end. The second verb doesn't, right? And in that, when we're using a reflexive verb, that reflexive pronoun, it gets put at the end, slapped on the end, and it's attached. There's no space between it and the verb. Okay? Another two-verb situation is when we use ing endings, right? So I am taking, for example. So to say I am, we say yo estoy. Yo estoy. And here we have an example of an ing ending, ando. Right? So we learned ando for AR verbs. We learned yendo, the iendo ending, for ER and IR verbs. Okay, so yo estoy, I am bathing, bañando, and we're saying this reflexively because we're doing it to ourselves, right? So we're going to put that me out there. So yo estoy bañándome. Something interesting about the me is that in two verb situations, the me can float, right? So the me can also go out here. So we could say me estoy bañando. Either option works fine. Me estoy bañando. If you wanted to use yo, you could put it at the front and say yo me estoy bañando. This hurts our English brain because it's too many pronouns. At least in my opinion. But anyway, so me estoy bañando expresses I'm taking a bath or shower. All right, let's look at a couple of others. All right, so let's look at lavar. Lavar means to wash. So you can say yo lavo los platos. I wash the dishes or plates. Right? But if you're washing your hands, you're doing now that action to or for yourself, right? So you would say yo me lavo las manos. We've got that reflexive pronoun in there signifying that we're doing that action to or for ourselves now. All right, what about two verb situations? All right, so I need to wash my hands. Yo necesito, I need to wash, right? Doesn't have an O, doesn't have an A, nobody's doing it, okay? So I need to wash. And then I'm doing the action to or for myself, so I've got that reflexive pronoun in there. So yo necesito lavarme, and then las manos. Now, if you're looking at las manos and you're saying, ha, Profesor Reynaldo, tú eres tonto, you silly guy, you messed up, because las and manos, there's an O there. That should be a masculine thing. Remember that there are some exemptions to the masculine-feminine rule. Hands happens to be one of those. So even though your brain might be thinking los manos, it's actually las manos. All right? Okay, so what about I am washing my hands, right? So yo estoy. Estoy is a verb. So this is a first verb followed by another verb. Okay, so we have a two-verb situation. Yo estoy lavando. Okay, washing. It's got that ing ending. It's in progress right now. Yo estoy lavando. I'm doing it to or for myself, so I've got that reflexive me in there. And then las manos. Yo estoy lavándome las manos. Or, again, the may. The may can come before a conjugated verb or after a verb that has not been conjugated. Technically, ing endings don't really count as verb conjugations. But anyway, just know that it can come before a conjugated verb or after a non-conjugated verb. Okay, so me estoy lavando las manos. Me estoy lavando. Okay, so you might ask yourself, well, Profesor Reynaldo, can me come up here before necesito? Could you say, me necesito lavar las manos? You could, technically, grammatically. Is it favored by native Spanish speakers? I would say probably the majority of them like to put it where it flows the best, or it's the easiest to say. Kind of like English, right? So there are instances where sometimes it's just easier to say something one way. And I would say in many instances it's easier to put the me in this position, although this could be said as well. So me estoy lavando las manos. All right, last one. Let's see. Here we go. All right, so dormir. Dormir means to sleep. So you could say yo duermo. I sleep. That's easy. We could use that reflexively. We could say yo me duermo. Notice the change in meaning. When we use it reflexively, it means I fall asleep. So I sleep versus I fall asleep. Okay. What if I can't sleep and I need to do it? Right? So I need to. The desire is for me to express I need to fall asleep. Yo necesito, I need to sleep, dormir. Okay, so I need to sleep. And then since I'm doing it to or for myself, I've got the reflexive pronoun me. Yo necesito dormirme. Right? Maybe I'm in the process of falling asleep. So I am falling asleep. All right, your friend calls you really late on the phone and says, what are you doing? And you're like on the verge of falling asleep. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm falling asleep. All right, so yo estoy, I am, durmiendo, I'm sleeping me. I'm sleeping me. I'm doing that to or for myself. I'm falling asleep. Right? So anyway, it gets a little funny with the meanings on some verbs. You're probably thinking, that doesn't make sense. That's fine. It doesn't have to. Our English brains try and make sense through our English understanding. A lot of times that's not the case. And anyway, so the last example, you could move the me out front and say, me estoy durmiendo. Again, you can put the me in front of a conjugated verb or after a non-conjugated verb. All right? So that was a lengthy description, and kind of complex. It's hard for our brains to get wrapped around this idea. So take some time, take some notes, maybe come up with your own examples. But that is reflexive verbs in two-verb situations.